Did you know that the targets for S&P 500 and Nasdaq 100, which were discussed earlier on this channel in the last week, has been attained? So overall trend in the US stock market is extremely bullish. But now the market seems to be little overextended and in overbought territory. Is there possibility of a correction in the US stock market? So we will do the technical analysis of S&P 500 and Nasdaq 100 to determine the prevailing trend and support and resistance area with the help of the price action and determine what could be the potential next target. But before it attains the next target, is there any possibility of a correction in the market? In the last week, if you take the US stock market outlook, S&P 500 and Nasdaq 100 were bullish, while Russell 2000 and Dow Jones Industrial Average Index were bearish. And Nasdaq 100 was the best performing index in the US stock market. In the last week, S&P 500 given a return of 0.96% on a week-to-week basis, while Nasdaq 100 has given a massive return of 3.31%. And Dow Jones Industrial Average Index gave a negative return of 0.6%, and Russell 2000 also gave a negative return of 1.06%. If we look at the market sentiments, and for that we will refer to the Fear and Greed Index against S&P 500. So if we look at the Fear and Greed Index, it currently reads at 53, which implies that Fear and Greed Index is in neutral territory. 1 week ago, it was reading 67. So it was in a greed zone. So still the market, as per the Greed and Fear and Greed Index, is not looking that the market participants are quite fearful, despite of the fact that the market has been giving a positive returns, S&P 500, since past 3 weeks in a row. I am D K Sinha. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe the channel, hit the notification bell for updates. Let's straight away go to the price chart to undertake technical analysis. This is the weekly price chart of S&P 500 index, and this index finally closed at 6090.27 in the last week. However, it made the high of 6099.97 and thus achieving the targets that we have discussed in the prior week. And this way, this index has given a return of 0.96% on week basis. Let us understand the price action and determine the long-term target. I am drawing this horizontal line. What we can see, this was the bear market. Market corrected quite heavily, and then there is a beautiful rounding bottom chart pattern. It's a U-shaped recovery rather than V-shaped recovery. U-shaped recovery is usually more sustainable, and it gave a breakout over here. And now let us determine the target based on this pattern. So I am projecting the target by measuring the depth, and what we can see, we have earlier discussed that has already attained the first target over here. Then the price consolidated for 2 weeks and then uptrend has resumed. So next possible target could be to 6,470 to 6,500 in S&P 500 index. Now this is the long-term target. Is the index is likely to face some kind of resistance? So let me draw some of the trend line based on the dynamic resistance. So please watch it carefully. I am drawing this trend line. Why this trend line is very significant? Because it has been rejected here. It was rejected earlier. It is rejected earlier, and it was rejected earlier. And now the price is trading quite in proximity of this rising trend line, which is acting as a dynamic resistance. Can we draw one more trend line to understand the price action? So this is yet another trend line, which is indicating a support line. Price has taken support here, support here. So there is a very narrow band now available. If it gives a breakdown, we can see a good correction in S&P 500. But if it gives a breakout, then there will be sharper upside momentum developing in S&P 500 because the base of this rising wedge is very good. If it breaks out, then there will be significant rise in the S&P 500 index. Now, if we calculate the support area based on the price action, I am drawing one very significant horizontal line. This horizontal line is very significant because earlier it acted as a resistance and then it became a support. So 5,867 is a good support in S&P 500 index. And we can draw yet another trend line or horizontal line. This is, I am drawing yet another horizontal line. We can see here it a particular horizontal line is important because the price went past this level but did not sustain, got rejected. There was a gap up opening and ultimately there was a candlestick pattern which was a bearish, and it is more or less a dark cloud cover kind of candlestick pattern. So this level comes at around 5,975. So this becomes the demand area for S&P 500 index. Let us go to the daily price chart. Now what we can see, this is the daily price chart. Market structure is nice, higher highs and higher lows kind of market structure. There is an existence of a gap over here which is still remaining unfilled. So if we measure the gap exists precisely at 5,783.4. So this becomes the potentially strong support. Even if the deeper correction takes place, 5,783 will act as a good support because there is a confluence of this rising trend line and confluence of EMA 55. At the same time, this was the potential resistance area which acted as a support over here. So ultimately that gap, this area becomes a very, very strong support even if little bigger correction takes place in S&P 500. Now look at the price action. In the recent time, there has been a loss of upside momentum which is clearly visible by the size of the candlestick it is getting formed on the price chart. So there is a significant loss of upside momentum. Now if I consider this to be a continuation chart pattern, which is a cup and handle kind of chart pattern, and project the target, let us project the target based on this cup and handle chart pattern. What we can see, based on this cup and handle chart pattern, next potential target is coming 6,116 and then 6,175. Now the targets of any chart pattern is minimum expected objective. But the important is this rising trend line that we have drawn in the weekly price chart. And if the price goes like this, guys, then potentially this could be the potential resistance area or supply area where we can expect some kind of correction to start. So 6,100 to 6,200 is the immediate supply zone based on the price action and based on the targets of the continuation chart pattern. But overall trend remains bullish. Short-term trend is bullish because EMA 21 is placed above EMA 55 and EMA 55 is placed above SMA 144. So the intermediate trend is bullish and the price is currently trading above SMA 200, SMA 233, SMA 144, and the slope of all long-term moving averages are sloping up. So the trend is bullish. Now let us move to the price chart of Nasdaq 100. We'll first go to the weekly price chart. This is the weekly price chart. What we can see, this index has closed at 21,622.25 and this is how it was bullish by 3.31% on a week-on-week basis. In the process, it made a high of 21,626, which is an all-time and record high for Nasdaq 100. Now, clearly this index has outperformed the broader market index S&P 500 and it attained the target, the first target that we discussed in the last week. Now, let us determine the little long-term perspective for this particular index. I am drawing a horizontal line as usual, and this is the horizontal line. What we can see, this was the bear market, beautiful rounding pattern recovery and a U-shaped recovery. It gave a breakout, throwback action took place, price took support at the confluence of neckline and EMA 21, and again the trend is resumed, and it is making a higher highs and higher lows kind of price action. If we determine the price target based on this rounding pattern breakout, see, the first target based on this pattern is coming 21,880, and it is almost reaching to that level. But 100% expansion with respect to this rounding pattern comes at 25,900. So ultimately Nasdaq 100 may target to 25,900 to 26,000, which is a potential target based on the rounding pattern chart pattern. Of course, any target of any chart pattern is a minimum expected objective. Now let me remove this particular expansion level, and here I am drawing one horizontal line. This is a very important horizontal line. Why this is important? Because it was the area of resistance. Price struggled for 3 weeks in a row before it gave a breakout, and after the breakout there has been a bearish candle formation, but the price took support on this horizontal line. So ultimately this proved to be a continuation chart pattern, which is a cup and handle kind of chart pattern. So if we determine the target based on the cup and handle chart pattern, let us calculate the target. So the next target based on this cup and handle pattern comes at 22,344 and then 23,617. These are the two potential targets of cup and handle. Now let us do the similar drawing on Nasdaq 100 as we did on S&P 500. I am drawing this. What we can observe here is, while S&P 500 is trading quite in proximity of resistance line, here there is a little gap. So there is a big possibility that it will achieve the target of 22,344, which is the first target of this cup and handle pattern before further correction starts. Because here if I draw like this, it is a breakout of a bullish flag as well. Now let us go to the price chart in daily time frame. What we can see in the price chart in daily time frame, let me draw one more trend line. This is the trend line. What this trend line indicates, price has taken support here, taken support here, second support here. So it has a multiple touch points, and this trend line is acting as a dynamic support. Those who are riding the trend, this trend line can help them to ride the trend and trail the stop loss in this index. Now what has happened in this index? In the process, it has formed a gap on 4th of December. This gap is potentially looks to me as a breakaway gap. I'm drawing a horizontal line because this was the potential resistance area and there was a gap up opening of the market. So market momentum was so high that it created a gap and there was a breakaway gap kind of formation, because there is a rise in the volume as well when this gap got formed. So this becomes the potential support area. This neckline is the immediate support area at 21,100 is a good support area on this index. Now, if we consider yet another resistance pivots, I am drawing this trend line. Why I am drawing this trend line? This trend line can minor give a trouble, but I can fine tune this trend line with a better price action, and this is probably a better trend line to draw. Why this is a better trend line? Because it was resistance area and this is the support area. It forms like a rising price channel. So potentially this could be the intermittent resistance over here. But ultimately, considering the chart patterns target, next potential target looks to be around 22,300 to 22,350 in Nasdaq 100. Overall trend is bullish. Here too, EMA 21 is placed above EMA 55 and EMA 55 is placed above SMA 144, and the price is currently trading above all long-term moving averages like SMA 200, SMA 233, SMA 144, and slope of all long-term moving averages inclining up, showing the strong momentum in Nasdaq 100. So I do hope, friends, that this kind of analysis on the channel give some kind of value addition to you, especially if you're learning technical analysis and price action analysis with the help of a tutorial series Zero to Hero on this channel. There is a separate playlist on the channel where any stock market beginners can learn free of cost on this channel. And these are the practical applications when we do the analysis of any stock or do the analysis of market index. Friends, I'll be waiting for your comments in the comment section of this video. Your feedback is very important to me for consistent improvement in the content quality of this channel. Thank you very much for watching. Looking forward to meet you very, very soon.